Mr. Eric Roberts had a question. Eric's a coach. He's been in the mentorship for, I think, over 2 years now. He's an absolute, he just dominates on the content creation, on the business side. Like, he's someone who has done a very, very good job. And he had a question that he specifically said, hey, do you and Jordan want to talk about this on the podcast? So I figured, why not? Question for you and Jay to maybe jam on the podcast. I have about 40,000 on my email list currently, and I'm sending emails 5 times per week. Honestly, because I enjoy doing it. I'm providing a ton of value in the emails. He's recently seen his open rate jump up to the 45 to 50% range, which is crazy. And he said his concern is that he's seen a rise in unsubscribes on each email that he sends. So I guess what I'm asking, although a 45 to 50% open rate may be good, is it actually good if I'm seeing 50 to 100 unsubscribes per email? Just wanted to get your perspective and thoughts on it. And I asked him, because this is relevant, how long he's been sending 5X a week. If he's been doing it for an entire year and he's still getting 50 to 150 unsubscribes per email, there's probably something off there. But if he just started doing this recently, it makes a lot more sense. I also asked him what his email frequency was in the 1 to 2 years before he started doing this. And he said the 5X per week just started in the last month or so. And before that, he was doing twice a week in the last 3 to 5 months prior. And before that, very minimally sending emails, just anticipation for launches. If it helps, I feel I have a pretty good gauge on the audience. And for the most part, I get really good feedback from the people who do reach out. But I also know there are unsubs. But I also know there are the unsubs there. So clearly something has to give. LOL. Like MJ tells Kobe, his prime 96 could beat Kobe's prime 08. Never forget it.
Listen, so here's the thing. As long as your subscribes are more than your unsubscribes I would say on a monthly basis, that's the most important from that perspective. Like, I don't care. Like, if you had 1,000 people on your email list and you were getting 100 to 150 unsubscribes per email, like, yeah, that's a big problem. But with 40,000 on the list, with a 40 to 50% open rate, 100 to 150 unsubs per email really isn't that bad, especially if you're getting like way more than that on a monthly basis. If your unsubscribes are significantly higher than your subscribes, you've got a real problem. I would say over like a 3-month period, like I would gauge that. But what might be happening is you just might have a fair amount of people who are like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. And it's not like they don't like you, and it's not like they might not follow you on social media. They're just like, yeah, like my email is pretty clogged up. I don't read them anyway, so I don't need it. So what is important to make them aware of is if you're sending out emails 4 to 5 times a week and they see your content on social media all the time, they have to know there's a reason to stay on the list. And the reason might be like, hey, when I do a launch, like you're going to get a discount, or you're going to get like first dibs. There's a reason for them to stay on the list. So you have to give them something that they're not getting on social media, that they're not getting elsewhere. That I would make sure that's very clear and that they know that's why they're on the list. One of the benefits of making that so clear is essentially they're going to now stay on the list so you can sell to them, which is like a huge mindset shift. When people are on an email list knowing that they're going to get better deals, it's still a deal. It's to buy something from you. So when something comes, when a sale comes, they're not going to be upset because that's why they're on the list in the first place. So give them that understanding from the very beginning and like, hey, listen, like, why are you on this list? Yes, so I can send you this information. Yes, so you can see it, but maybe you're also seeing it on social media, so it seems overkill. I want you to know, like, because you're on my list and I really appreciate you, like, you're going to get first dibs when big things come out. You're going to get discounts. You're going to get all of this. So make sure they know that. But yeah, I'm not worried about that many unsubscribes as long as your subscribes are more than that at the end of the month and your open rate and conversions are still doing well.
I agree. I also think there's there's a conversation to be had right now where you and I might not know the exact answer, but has to do with the shifting kind of type of content that is doing well or not doing well on social, and the increase in people, the increase in the number of creators and how much those people are creating. So here's what I mean. There are a lot of people who do email marketing really well who send daily emails or 5x a week emails. Those people are usually very good writers, very entertaining writers. They also usually, not always, but usually aren't like absolutely crushing content across the board. They're not doing like multiple TikToks, multiple YouTubes, like just hammering everything and writing daily emails. They're usually email focused. Eric is banging the drums across the board.
Yeah,
correct. And so I don't know if this is my personal bias toward less frequent email in this like world where we are drowning in content to consume. Like there's literally infinite scrolls and stuff to read, and there's just so much out there. But I actually think that a lower frequency of emails written, and this is partly because an email to your list is purely like adding value to the people who already follow you. There's no distribution upside. Unless you're just phenomenal and you're like asking people to forward this to your friends, you're not growing as a result of that email. Whereas if that time and energy, say instead of 5x, you go back to 2x and you do one extra YouTube long form video a week that's SEO'd well, et cetera, or you get an extra article per month as a result of reallocating that time toward that thing, you get more organic reach and more new audience than you do focused on email. And this could be where the personal bias is, because I don't need to hear from anyone 5x a week. 2x a week is plenty, especially if I'm following them in all these other places. I feel like using that time elsewhere would be more beneficial.
I completely agree. I 100% agree. There's no question. I would say if you're purely an email marketer and not on other platforms very much, then daily emails makes tons of sense. But if you're like Eric here, who's posting multiple times a day across Instagram, across YouTube, across articles, across TikTok, all this stuff, I think email should just be a place where maybe once a week at most is really where you need it. And until you decide, hey, I'm going to launch something. And then, hey, get on my list. I'm going to email you a bunch over this launch duration, but using it more as an ability. Hey, like I've got your email, I've got your contact information just in case. Maybe give like a weekly recap of some of your best content. Hey, I don't know if you saw this, or I don't know if you saw this article, but like here's some of my best content over the last week. And then otherwise saving that stuff for big launches. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. I just think that's a better use of that time spent. And also so much of writing emails is so that you're not the guy who only emails when you're selling something.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Basically me for the last 3 years.
Even that's what I've been doing mostly. And, that's where I think having a little bit of social media and email is the best of both worlds, right? Where it's like the way that I basically talk about it, I'm like, listen, people are trying to hack my Instagram constantly, trying to hack my stuff constantly. So regularly, let's say like, hey, get on my email list. And even the opt-in page says, hey, just in case I get hacked, like sign up, because people are constantly trying to do it. And it is a legitimate worry. Well, now I have all their contact information. And then I can say like, hey, like when I do my sale 2 to 3 times a year at most, I'll be able to contact you. And people have been very receptive to that. Like people have been like, they've really enjoyed it. So it's, I think it's one of those things where they know when they're signing up for it, like they're not signing up for daily emails. They're not signing up for another email to be in their inbox. Because realistically, most people, they're not going to read an email every day. Like their email is so clogged up most of the time anyway, and they're often more on their social media. I think having one email a week that is just based around here's like 3 of my best pieces of content over the last week that I think you'll really enjoy, that you link them to, maybe one on Instagram, one on YouTube, one on your website, like that's fantastic.